attention. This public hearing will please come to order. I'm Anna Tamel, Chair of the Cornwall Planning and Zoning Commission and Chair for this evening's public hearing. In compliance with state law, a transcript must be made of everything said at any public hearing of a Planning and Zoning Commission, and we're doing this tonight by means of our volunteer Richard Griggs, who is creating a video for us. For the purpose of the record, let me state that it is now 7:05 p.m. on May 9th, 2023. This is a regularly scheduled meeting, is posted in Town Hall and on the Cornwall website. The members of the Planning and Zoning Commission who are present tonight and seated for the hearing are myself, Christine Gray, Keith Bodwell, James Laporta, Stephen Siccardi, I haven't even seen them. Phil West.
I can't edit that.
And all right. And our three alternates are here, but they will not be seated as we do have a full quorum, and that is Michelle Shipp, Bruce Bennett, and Will Evans down at the back. Although and Janelle, our outstanding land use consultant, Janelle Mullen, is also attending. Although the legal notices included correct information in the newspapers about the time and place of this hearing, it has come to my attention that the amended agenda as posted on the town website erred in not stating the time. In addition, the editors of the calendars of both the Chronicle and the town website incorrectly noticed this meeting as being by Zoom. Although the Chronicle did state that in addition to being by Zoom, the meeting was in the library. In order to ensure that everyone who wishes to may give testimony, we will open the hearing tonight and continue it to next month, hopefully with proper notice. I will now turn the hearing over to our Zoning Enforcement Officer, Kara Nelson, who will read the legal notice into the record.
Okay. As I fumbled around and changed all of my paperwork. Hold on a second. Let me see. I can't believe I left it back again.
Who has their agenda? It contains the legal notice.
Okay. The legal notice, as published in the Waterbury Republican on April 28th and May 5th, reads that the Town of Cornwall will hold a public hearing on May 9th, starting at 7 p.m. in the New Hartford, Cornwall Library, Pine Street in Cornwall, to hear the following: Town of Cornwall reformatted zoning applications. It also states that anybody in attendance can appear and be heard, and written and oral testimony received. And that I will add that the notice addresses the fact that the zoning regulations were on file in the land use office and directed people as to how they could send correspondence. And that was published in the Waterbury Republican on April 28th. The same legal notice was posted on the Cornwall website in April and on file in the town clerk's office dated April 17, 2003. A copy of the draft regulations, timestamped April 17, 2023, was on file in the land use office and on file in the town clerk's office in compliance with statutory requirements that the amendments be on file in the town clerk's office 10 days prior to the hearing. In addition, I received email confirmation that I sent to Emily Holquist at the Northwest Hills Council of Elected Officials and sent the copy of the zoning regulations, and she responded that reformatted zoning regulations it is not necessary for the 35-day statutory time frame. In response, as reformatting does not constitute statutory review. And so they did receive a copy, but there is no report because they do not feel that they had to issue a report. Due to the fact that these reformatted regulations are being brought forth by the Commission, there are no other noticing requirements to any abutting neighbors or whatever because they are townwide. The Correspondence that was received by the Land Use Office in the past several days was email correspondence from David Colbert. And I have, up to 6:30 this evening, I have received no other written correspondence or email correspondence that relates to this public hearing. And that is my report.
As I stated earlier, the purpose of the public hearing is to collect testimony, which other people might call public comment, from those present about the regulation reformat. It is not, unfortunately, the time to ask questions. There was an opportunity to ask questions at the Public Education Forum that was held in April, at the April meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission. As per our usual policy, we also welcome questions in writing at any time prior to a public hearing, and we did receive one question in writing. What this public hearing concerns is the reformatting, reorganizing, and rewording of Cornwall zoning regulations. We've been working on this process for 3 years now, under the guidance of our well-educated and well-experienced land use consultant, Janelle Mullen. Our most recent rewrite of the regulations occurred 23 years ago in the year 2000. It was largely a reprint with the addition of amendments that had been passed since 1985, which was the last time that a complete, comprehensive rewrite of the regulations happened. Since the year 2000, several regulation amendments have been passed. One of the issues that was identified prior to deciding on this project was that our final regulation amendment, the agricultural amendment, could not be included in the current printing of the regulations for formatting reasons which were encountered by multiple people who are adept. So that was a problem. Also, our old regulations were out of date in reference to a number of state statutes and court precedents that have been set. Our new reformatted regulations do have hot links to the statutes. We added 25 definitions for increased clarity. We also reorganized the regulations to follow a more logical progression and from simpler to more complex subjects, with the goal of making the regulations more accessible to lay readers. We brought some items that were scattered throughout the regulation into a more comprehensive section and changed some wording, again, for increased clarity. I want to emphasize that at no time did we change the intent or the expected outcomes of these regulations. And the fact that the Northwest Hills Council of Governments did not feel it incumbent upon them to offer their usual mandatory comments on regulation amendments confirms what I just said. I am now going to ask for comments in favor of the regulation reformat. You are asked to state your name clearly and loudly for the record before giving your testimony. If you feel your testimony should be viewed as expert in nature, please also supply your credentials. Are there any comments in favor of the reformat from the public who are attending?
Yes. Hello, my name is Gordon Mitchroy, and I'd like to thank the Commission for sitting through this process and making these important regulations clearer, easier to understand, and consistent with state law. So I know you spent a lot of time, and I'm glad for everyone's sake that you have gotten to this point with such a clear and well-written document. Thank you.
Thank you, Gordon. Any other comments? Nancy?
In favor.
Well, yes, in favor. In a moment.
I'm Nancy Berry. I'm a resident of Cornwall. I have watched often many of your meetings, and you have been incredibly diligent, thorough, and I believe truly undertaking a process to make this more understandable for people like me. That being said, and I congratulate you on that. I'll wait until you come with the second part to have another comment.
It's fine. Any other commenters?
Ann Trowbridge, I'm a part-time resident. I researched this topic for the Chronicle, and personally, I considered the new regulations a vast improvement over the old regulations. They're shorter, they're better organized, they're easier to use, and as someone who does compliance with zoning for a large organization in my day job, I think they would encourage better compliance.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, I will now open the floor to comments that are not in favor of our regulations, Regulation B format. Do you want to start, Nancy?
I'm not, this is not commenting something that I am not in favor of. I didn't understand a couple of the new terms. I didn't see the listing of them in the vocabulary in your definitions. One was social health. I just don't understand that term. I haven't heard it before in a zoning situation. And the other term was you changed family to household.
Mm-hmm.
I did read all, however many pages there are, everything before commenting, but I wasn't sure of what you meant by household. I'm assuming they don't have to be related in any way. And the other item that I was disappointed in, and I'm hopeful that maybe this will be something you will address at another time, is I read that in some years ago, you could build a two-family dwelling in Cornwall, which I would assume that we call that also a duplex. Is that another word for a two-family dwelling? Now you can retrofit or repurpose an older home into up to 4 apartments, owner occupied in one of them. But I'm disappointed that we don't have something to cover a two-family dwelling.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for those comments, Nancy. Does anybody else have any comments to share? Yes.
Marguerite Purnell, and my comments aren't necessarily negative, nor are they necessarily positive. Well, they may be positive. I will be submitting written comments. I'm appreciative that you're going to keep the meeting open. I apologize that I completely missed your informational meeting in April. And then my first notice of this was yesterday's agenda, and so I started halfway through. And there are a couple of suggestions and a couple of thoughts. It's interesting to have the hyperlinks in the document. The difficulty with the hyperlinks is when you have an application that's going to come before your commission, that hyperlink is going to reference the regulations or the statutes at that particular time. And so as you all move forward, you are not going to be able to actually fix the statutes at the time of the application. And maybe that's something that if there's a form that you're going to have associated with a particular application, that you may have to, I haven't really thought that through entirely, but yeah, I'll make it a little bit more clear. But again, when it's hyperlinked, so think about a situation where you have an application for a special permit, and the statutes will change through the years. Mm-hmm. And in some cases you have acknowledged things as amended, and in some cases you have the statutes with the hyperlink. So if something is permitted, say in 2023, and the statute changes in 2025, then how are you going to be able to differentiate between when an applicant comes in and says, hey, I complied with it, I complied with what's linked and what shows now in the statutes. So I think you might need to have some way of fixing it. It's very convenient to have those hyperlinks, but I think it's going to make your job a little bit more challenging. So, and there are a few other sort of comments like that, take it or leave it, and a whole bunch of nits, you know, because that's just how I'm wired, just forgive me. It's meant to be helpful. So I do thank you all. I know you guys have been working on this for a really long time, and it's really hard to rearrange things and to rethink things. I think it's prettiest zoning regulations I've ever seen in Connecticut. Bam. So, and the content's pretty great as well. So, you know, just a couple of other little things, and take it or leave it as it is. I'll try and get them into you as soon as I can.
So all of the commissioners will receive your comments, and we will discuss.
Thank you. I was horrified to miss your other meetings and only find out, it's on me.
Thank you. Always appreciate input. I am going to ask for a motion to continue this hearing to next month.
We have to announce the date and time and place.
Have to announce the date, the time, and the place. Next month will be June 2nd Tuesday, 7 o'clock, June 13th at 7 p.m. And having a preference for public hearings in person, I'm making an executive decision that it will be once again in person in the library.
So moved. Second.
Thank you, Keith. Thank you, James Laporta. All in favor, say aye. Aye. And any opposed? No. So that is a unanimous decision. We are now going to move on to our regular meeting agenda. First item being the approval of the 4 pages worth of minutes that Karen labored over. I would be happy to accept a motion to approve. Thank you, Keith.
Second.
Thank you, Christine. Is there any discussion or amendment? Hearing none, I will call a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next item is new applications, which there are none. Pending applications is the reformatted regulations. I'm going to move on to the staff report and leave it in Karen's hands.
I will be as short and sweet as I can possibly be. The zoning permits are listed at the end of the agenda. I wanted to just reference yet one more brand new house being built and bringing in as part of it a minor home-based business known as Gene Black Home Improvements and General Contractors. The house is being built at the end of 27 Day Road, and he has been a local contractor for many years, because I have worked with him as well. And the second is the town of Cornwall and the Cornwall Park and Recreation Commission, who's asking for kiosks and signage for footfields at the recreational facility at 65 Burns Brook Road, and we are working on that as well. So, but I have signed off on Gene Black's zoning permits moving forward. I have no enforcement actions. I will say I was very glad to be in West Cornwall today and saw that there's already work starting on the pink, also White House, also known as Pink House, forward. And I spent some time in West Cornwall recently, and I will speak again for the amount of people and the excitement I see about the new things happening down there. So your meeting last month really showed positive change.
Hopefully at our next meeting, we'll be able to talk about what's happening in Cornwall Bridge with the country market. Okay, correspondence and communications. I think you received one, my cannabis survey report.
Yes.
Which I might as well summarize now, since I brought it up. We have received, now I'm behaving just like you do sometimes. It's here somewhere. There it is. All right, you all received a copy of my report. We have to date had 89 responses. This winds up being 8% of what the 2020 Census Bureau told us we had in the way of people over the age of 20 in Cornwall, which is 1,106. Now, they don't have a cutoff at 21. 21 and up is when you're allowed to legally be involved in cannabis, but it's an estimate. And I'm hoping that we will have a higher response rate. What we have done so far, just to summarize how we've reached out and tried to inform people about the survey. We had an educational forum at our April meeting. We had an article in the April Chronicle by Anna Trowbridge, who's here tonight. No, wait a minute. No, it wasn't. Yes, it was you. We had pertinent definitions in our May Chronicle. And in that chronicle also was the insert with the survey. And on the survey itself, the paper version, are links to the background information, which include Janelle Mullen's excellent PDF summarizing the regulation and what the different license types are. We also have links to the survey and that explanation by Janelle on the cornwallct.org website, the Cornwall CT Facebook page, and the Cornwall Community Network. Tomorrow I will put out another notice on the Facebook page and the Community Network asking for more. The deadline is May 22nd. That's that. Other business proper to come before the commission?
I have
Okay. Planning workshop meeting. I don't think we have any plans to have a planning workshop meeting. I would like a motion to schedule a special meeting before our, I'm looking for my calendar, it's here somewhere, before our June 9th meeting.
June 13th.
June 13th meeting. I like the words.
Put that now.
A special meeting whose purpose will be to review the comments that we are going to receive about the reformat and to make any changes that might arise from reviewing those comments. So I'm suggesting Tuesday, May 23rd.
So
Did you look at your calendar?
I am, and the purpose of the special meeting would be to make changes.
If we will discuss the comments that we've received and decide whether to make changes based on those comments.
But we're in the middle.
We're in the middle of
Wait till
a public
after.
hearing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're in an open public hearing.
Thank you.
There's
That's
no
why
changes
you
that can
get the big bucks.
So we should do that after the next public.
We should do that after the next public hearing. Oh, you're off the hook,
but we
lucky
should-
folks.
We don't need a special.
We don't need a special meeting.
We do
should
it after the
proceed.
public hearing.
When the commission feels it's appropriate to close the hearing, typically, whether they feel like they need to sleep on it, they can adjourn until they set another meeting and/or continue that discussion in the evening.
Okay.
No worries.
Well,
We haven't done one of these in a
no,
while.
and I had planned to continue the hearings, so that's
Yeah,
great.
understood.
Nice to
Understood.
hear, no special meeting.
Yeah.
In that case, I will welcome a motion to adjourn.
Can we put on the agenda for next month the housing issues that our little subcommittee discussed? And maybe at least bring that up onto the table?
Well, I think I've mentioned before what our short-term plan is, that we need to deal with the results of the cannabis survey. I don't want to have to do 2 regulatory changes at once.
Yeah, I wasn't proposing a regulatory change, just maybe get the ball rolling in terms of we had our.
Yes. Well, you know what
My guess is we're gonna have to discuss both
may,
before we write them.
yeah.
I mean, like, right now it's 7:30, we could have had it tonight and it would have worked out great, right? We just get, it's a 5-minute discussion of,
Get it on the agenda.
yeah, just put it on the agenda so that we can at least
So that the
discuss it.
committee can report on what their recommendations were and we can deal with
Because I'm
those.
starting to forget what.
Okay, it's perfectly reasonable, we can do that. There were 3, I have it. there were 3 suggestions.
Yeah, very minor suggestions, but at least then the whole commission could hear what we were thinking of and keep that ball rolling as well. We don't have to do anything.
Further discussion on housing will follow.
Oh, I'm sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
And, but it's a good way to start, and I certainly appreciate the work of the subcommittee.
I think that and the presentation of the cannabis results and a brief discussion
Sure.
afterwards could well
Okay.
fit into the
Yeah.
agenda in the
Yeah.
planning
And
session.
if there's not enough time for that, then we'll just
You can
put
table
it on the
it.
next.
Okay.
So table it till the next one.
Okay.
But at least it'll be on the agenda,
You're
then we can
right,
discuss
you're right.
it.
It could have been on our planning workshop meeting for tonight
Right,
if we thought that there would be time.
yeah.
It's interesting.
At any regular meeting as well, with a 2/3 vote of the commission, you can vote to add an item.
That's
to
what I
the
was just
agenda.
gonna say, we could add it for
Should-
tonight.
Should you feel the need.
We could add it for tonight's agenda.
That's completely,
So I forgot
Legal.
what we just.
Well, present, but
Well, Will, you were there, and Phil, you were there between.
I don't have my notes with me either, so.
And then we need to post.
Yeah, let's just.
Right,
let's-
all right, yeah, all
Put it on the
right.
agenda, then
Sorry
we'll
about that.
prepare.
Okay, very good, you tried. Well, does anybody want to add anything else to the agenda since we seem to have so much time on our hands?
just one item I would love to add, and it's really great, is that this book has come out, and it's new, and
Oh.
it's the like Mike Ziska book.
Yeah.
So just,
And where do we obtain one?
if the budget provides for everyone on the commission to get a copy, I highly recommend it.
What is it?
Hold it this way.
Can you just pass it down so we can see?
Can I shoot on the camera here?
Happy to do that, yeah.
Okay.
It's what's legally required by Michael Ziska.
Okay.
And it incorporates all the updates to the statutes circa 2021. And
I've heard Attorney Zitzka speak many times.
Yeah, he's great.
He is outstanding.
I can pass it down if you want.
Unfortunately,
I didn't realize we were talking about.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's
And who
great.
do we order it from?
I can reach out to him.
I found it on UConn.
Yeah, it's probably through UConn, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
well, it's easier to read this than to read the handout that we got for the legal
It's,
seminar.
it's well written too. It's fun.
And, okay. Anything
I
else?
will
Yes,
quickly
what?
bring one other thing up. I received correspondence today saying how many minutes I had logged in the legal seminar that day, 390 minutes, was it? 390 minutes. And so those members that came in and shared the computer with me, I'm going to have to get time so that I can reach back and get your names logged in so that you will have your time allotted, your hour or 2 hours. James, you came in
Yeah.
and.
You know, that this,
Michelle, didn't we do
the
that?
state hasn't announced how it's going to enforce the
No.
education requirement.
No.
I mean, the statute, that as I recall, said that they have to be reported to the Office of Management and Planning, but they haven't said how or the format. Nevertheless, I've started an Excel spreadsheet with people's hours as they report them.
Yeah, I heard a rumor that they will be changing the training to every other year, but I think it's essential to constantly do training. Of course. It's just they haven't made up their minds about the requirements. So
Well,
regardless.
you know, someone like myself who has gone to innumerable trainings and has been on this commission for 12 years can still make a mistake.
Well, you can
About what the
still learn
rules are.
every
Yeah.
seminar.
It's just astonishing. Well, we're left with nothing to talk about.
Okay.
Move to adjourn.
All in favor? Aye. I will just mention in passing that I got permission from the librarian, when and if we finally pass this Reform Act, there will be some toasting.
Oh, that's exciting. Is it
Is that it?
No,
Anna, is that it?
in Dixie cups, because everybody has their little.
It's off, okay.
Prepared.